Call special meeting order. Will clerk please call roll?
Burgess.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Tate.
Here.
Washington. Here. Williams. Here.
All right. Go to item number 2, review renewal agreement with Republic Services. And if you would, both of you guys would please stand. We know who you are. Please state your name for the record.
Turn it up, please.
We have it now.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees. My name is Anthony DeLuca, and Ernie Lopez to my side, representatives from Republic Services. We're happy to be here. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to discuss the proposal with you. Would you like me to give a brief overview?
Yes.
Okay, the brief overview is we're in a situation here with the village where there are some monies owed due to a combination of underbilling and also due to monies that have not been paid. And what Republic is proposing is to take those dollars, eliminate the money that's owed, bring it down to zero, extend the agreement so that the money would be paid off over time. Also include recycling with a 96-gallon cart. As you know, right now you have a blue bag system. We would be modernizing the village and going to a tote, so we would furnish the tote to every resident, pick it up every other week. We would include the language in this new agreement for the senior discount. Believe it or not, the senior discount is not in the current agreement. So we want to make sure that that's included. And we're talking about the current rate right now that Republic is billing the village is $16.75. And what the current rate should be, and this is the underbilling aspect of this, is $18.43. That's what the current rate should be. And we're proposing to do all of this for the 1964. 1964. That would include the recycling, it would include the senior discount, and it would also take those monies that are due to Republic, both the underbilling and the past due balance, and we would start the slate clean. So that is generally the overview, and those are the main points. We'd be happy to answer any more specific questions that you might have. Thank you.
Trustee Tate.
Good evening. I'm a little confused as to when this thing began. A couple of weeks ago, we were advised that we were delinquent $422,000 odd dollars to Republic, and that Administrator Fairman was in negotiations with Republic to resolve this. But no one has started at the beginning. When did this delinquency or bad billing or whatever, I'm not sure the terminology, when did it begin?
It's been ongoing for a number of years. This didn't just happen recently. It probably would go back to the previous administration.
So are we talking 2012, 2011? I'm trying to get a feel for how we are delinquent.
I don't have dollar amounts with me in terms of, I couldn't say in 2011 that there was this amount past due. I'm unable to answer the question that specific. But the rate of $16.75 was implemented in 2011.
And that's what the residents have been paying since 2011.
That's correct.
And it should have been 18.
Well, that's what Republic's been billing the village. Let me clarify that. That's what Republic's been billing the village.
1675.
Yes.
And it should have been 18.
Well,
if we're doing it
yeah,
the proper way, I guess I can say.
Correct.
It would have been 18, and how much?
It would currently be $18.43.
Just so we can make sure that the rest of the board understands here. 2011 billing was $16.75. Everyone should receive a copy of the ordinance in the box. And if you look at it in section 2, it talks about in section B in 2013 it should have raised to $17.50. And in 2014 it should have been a 5% increase for the CPI. 2015 there should have been another 5% increase for CPI. 2016 there should have been another 5% increase for CPI. In May of 2016, the board did pass And we are currently at the 1843 building right now.
Okay, why didn't any of these increases occur? You just rattled off maybe 5 years. Why weren't they applied as you just stated?
I think we talk about the underbuilding.
Yeah, that would be a question for us sitting here. And it probably goes back to the acquisition of Skyline Disposal, which is when really this all started. And that's the underbilling from Republic's perspective that we take responsibility for.
Okay, what type of notification did you provide to the village of this? I'm not even sure what to call this thing.
What would we normally? If the rate was increased every year?
No, I'm saying that when it was discovered that we owed you, let's say $1,000, why was the village notified that we were delinquent?
The Republic office is in constant communication with the village. Constant communication. So anytime that there's money that's due, the village is made aware of that, and we try and work with the village as best we can.
Okay, then, I mean, you can tell I'm a little flabbergasted by $422,000, number one, that the village has to pay and the residents have to absorb. And residents have been, some of the residents, I'm not speaking all, I'm sure some of the residents have been paying their bills on time, which included water and Republic. And it seemed the money was coming in but wasn't going out to get to Republic. So I'm a little concerned about that. That's a village problem. It has nothing to do with you, Republic. That's something that's going on in the village that should not have, because the village residents are being more or less penalized now. If they've been paying their bills and now you're asking for, I think there are four years left on the existing agreement. On the agreement we have right now, there are 4 years left on it, correct?
That's correct. And also, just let me clarify the number that's actually due at this point, because a payment was made, is $389,000. $389,905.
Okay, so you're saying the 422 is no longer a true number,
That's correct.
and that's 389 at this present time. Now, back to what I was saying, the current contract that Sauk Village has with Republic, there's 4 years existing on that contract.
Correct.
Okay. And Republic is asking for an additional 10 years, which is a total of 14 years then, that the village is under contract.
Correct.
Okay. And during that period of time, and I have not, just so you know, I have not reviewed any of this thing of agreement stuff. It was not in my box earlier today, so I have not reviewed this. So I'm talking from the top of my head. I'm not referring to that contract in garbage. Now, during the 14-year time period, Republic then has, or there's something in the contract where you will be able to increase the rate, I guess, on an annual basis?
3%.
3% per year.
Correct.
For how many years?
Okay, and this locks Sauk Village in. They cannot, for 14 years, the next 14 years, they cannot seek another service provider, let's say, because they're under contract with Republic. So even if they found a vendor that charged less for some reason, they cannot take advantage of that because they're obligated by contract.
It would be the same as any other agreement. If we fail to perform, that would be a different story. It would be no different than any 5 or 10 year agreement that we do.
What is failure to perform, in your language?
Not picking up,
You just don't pick it up.
just don't show up
Okay, all right.
unless there's unusual circumstances. 3 feet of snow where you physically can't come, but generally speaking. failed to perform the duty that we're contracted to do.
Just so that you know, you can tell I have concerns about this. And 14 years is a long period of time. Some of us probably won't be living 14 years from now. But our children, grandchildren, neighbors may be living. And they're going to increase or inherit this, whatever we do tonight, whatever we do, whenever we sign this thing, they're going to inherit that problem. And I'm a new trustee, so I feel burned already because we're paying another long-term contract the last board entered into. So I'm real hesitant about these long-term contracts. So I just want you to know that up front.
Well, Trustee Cates, you had mentioned that we'd be passing on a problem, and I would ask you to try and view this as a solution. This is something we've worked pretty hard on, and the current situation is we have a real problem that we're faced with on both sides. And, we've come up with a solution, and extending it over a longer period of time makes it much more acceptable and palatable for the residents. Because we're talking about $389,000. We're also talking about furnishing the recycling tote, which is actually modernizing the program. And you take a combination of those two, and we need more time so that the impact on the resident is less.
But I think in the long run, a 3% increase for the next 14 years is going to impact the residents. And I venture to say, in my opinion only, it would be a negative impact. Because what I would rather do, we have 4 years left on the agreement. What I would rather do is give you half of that $389,000. Excuse the interruption. Give you half of that money, and over the next 3 years or 4 years, that we pay the balance of that. That way the residents aren't impacted over a long term. So you're agreeing with us that we can find the middle ground and pay this bill and get it, because we owe you, we can pay this bill, but it's less impact on the residents. So does that sound, I'm not sure what was in the negotiations. I'm not sure what was discussed or what kind of things were kicked around.
Well, there were a lot of ideas.
Was that
There were a lot
partial payment, was partial payment one of those options?
Yeah, I don't recall that specifically, and a lot of that had to do with the amount that would have had to be paid real soon. Real soon.
All right. Thank you very much for answering.
Thank you.
Trustee Williams.
I just have a couple questions. The recycling that you're talking about, is that going to include electronics?
No, the recycling program is just curbside household recycling every other week in the 96-gallon tote.
Okay. And then how long have you been with the village?
Say that again?
How long have you been with the village? Working with us? Well, not with Skyline.
That's a trick question.
Yeah.
Trustee.
You're all the same to me, sorry, So how long has...
Republic acquired Skyline Disposal in October of 2012.
Okay. And then previously, with Skyline Disposal, how long, off the top of your head?
Probably since 1954.
Okay. So a long time. And then, I guess my last question would be, the $389,000, is that the amount that you stated?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what percentage of that is because of underbilling? Roughly?
Yes, I do. 228,000.
So, because I just want to make it clear, just so I know to move forward. We had a payment that was received to you guys before, so the original amount that we were told is not different. So the balance now is $389,000, and of that, $228,000 is due to underbilling, and which started, which you earlier, if I'm correct, was around 2011 when the changeover kind of happened, and there may have been some miscommunication or something on your end, not our end, and that's what happened with the underbilling, because it was kind of, oh, sorry, because it was kind of, I got a little confused by the last conversation with that you had with Trustee Tate, as far as kind of what happened. I don't want it to be said that it was the residents who were paying the bill, the village had the money and just wasn't paying what they were supposed to be paying. So this was we received a bill that was inaccurate. That's what you're saying is the underbilling?
Yes, and in April of 2011 through March of 2012, the rate is $16.75 in the current agreement. That rate has not changed. That rate has not changed.
Okay.
And also what we've done, I should also bring to your attention that over the last few months, we've also done an audit of the households in Sauk Village, which was long overdue. And this was, to Trustee Tate's, this is another important part of this whole project and what we worked on. And it probably took us a total of a month to do call it a forensic audit of the homes in Sauk Village, homes lived in, vacant homes. I mean, we really came up with a nice comprehensive list, which is going to be helpful as we move forward with this agreement, and also keeping track of that and being able to enforce those who may not be paying for garbage service.
I was just trying to clarify, because I know that you guys do have a very good, long-standing relationship with Sauk Village. I know that you guys have worked with us in the past. You've been able to help us as a village. You've helped homeowners in the past as far as with dumpsters and things like that. And I'm sure that that's something that will probably would continue as Skyline's did in the past. So I just kind of wanted to clarify. And I think that it's, as a company, it was important that you came to the village and said, hey, we noticed this mistake. Let's find a way to kind of rectify it and see how we can move forward. So I just want to thank you guys for that.
Trustee Jones?
Well, I know this is something that will affect the whole community, and we've been in this situation for a long time now. It didn't just happen overnight. So I'm just wondering what happened to all of a sudden it's this. We got to turn this right now tonight. Not a chance to even review the ordinance. Not enough chance to get some critical questions answered. Due to our finance director hasn't even seen this contract. Our village administrator said he didn't see this contract. So a lot of the crucial financial questions were not able to be answered. And for us to not inform the public, give some type of notice, it's just fair for the residents. And I just don't think it's fair for us to rush through something that has taken years to get to. I just don't understand who set this up, why we set it up now, and what has been done so we don't go back to this. This is the questions that can't be answered until certain key players have the information. And as I spoke to the finance director and I spoke to the village administrator, they didn't have these answers. And this is my first time seeing the ordinance that goes along with this. I would like to review it. I think the public should have some type of notice, 2 weeks at least, for people to digest what happened and what's going to happen in the future. Not to say that this isn't fair, but what's not fair is not us having the transparency to see what needs to be done and what role we played in this to get to this point, what role you played in this for us to get to this $389,000 mistake somewhere. So it was a footstep miss, and we need to compare notes from our finances to your finances, your statements that were sent out, and our statements as far as our payments that were sent to you. What your invoice said versus what we sent to you. This is how we don't fall in within that 60-day notice. If we're 60 days behind and then all of a sudden we have to pay this money right back. We have been delinquent on a lot of things in this village, and there's nothing in place right now that I can see that we won't be delinquent on. And, and until we have some type of transparency to this, so we all, as a village, can see and be comfortable with this increase in money going outside of our home. So I'm just asking if there's some type of extension that we could have to digest all of this and come together collectively to a solution, because there are solutions that maybe I have. There are solutions that any other trustee up there may have. I would hope they would have something. But if not, well, at least we had that opportunity to do so, to talk, to communicate with the finance director, and to display our thoughts to the public.
I don't remember all your questions, but I will say that we, from our perspective, from Republic's perspective, I can't comment or give any response to whatever communication is going on between the village officials, okay? And I can tell you that this has been ongoing for several months. We've been working on this, and I've also been informed that the board has been apprised a couple times, generally.
Wednesday. First I heard of this. Wednesday, last Wednesday. And it was just a notion of, a mention of. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll get something on that. So we haven't even had this a week.
Okay, well, I can't respond to that. I could just tell you that I am under the impression, and I think I even saw one of the reports, some of the minutes, where the board was apprised, just in general, about the ongoing discussion with Republic. And that's why we're happy to be here tonight, is to try and be as transparent as possible. And we're not trying to ram anything through. There's a real situation here. And, other communities, to show that we've been negotiating in good faith and trying to come up with a good agreement that works for the village. We want to be partners. We want to be a part of the community. Is other communities are cut off far sooner from monies owed. Far sooner. Suspension of service is what I mean when I say cut off. Suspension of service. And that hasn't happened because we have been working on this for months. We've been working on this, trying to craft an agreement that works and would be helpful to the village, because we also know we're partially responsible for this with the underbilling. So I can tell you that I have to report that we're at a point now where $225,000 of the $389,000 is really due immediately to prevent the suspension of service. It's really due immediately, unless we move forward with the agreement, of course. But I don't want you to think that there's any type of communication going on here that wasn't trying to be transparent at all.
Okay, I don't let us get this twisted up. I'm not putting you at fault. All I know is on this side, like I said in previous weeks, there's no transparency over here. And this is the reason you're caught in a situation where I'm going to speak for me, that I know that I wasn't privy to any of this information until I would say at least maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, and it was a suggestion. And I'm sorry that you have been negotiating so hard, and this is the first week that I've heard of this. And I can't speak for anyone else, but the information wasn't passed down to me, and that's another lack of transparency that has always, that's normal for here. If you just don't, you haven't been here, but that's a normal thing. So, don't take it as it's you, it's me. I know you have been working on that, but it's just our information. It hasn't been given to me.
Trustee Marsh.
Couple of questions, sir. Does the village of Saukville have a current contract with you now?
It's on, yes, you go.
Yeah, it's on. And the village of Saukville has a current contract with Republic now?
Yes.
No? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, that contract will end when, sir?
March 31st of 2020.
Okay. At that date, if the village of Saukville doesn't come up with an agreement, you will stop the services to the village. That's pretty much all I'm understanding. You could stop the services to Saukville.
Can you repeat that? I missed the first part.
If there's no agreement or anything comes about on that date, your company could stop the services to the village of Saukville because we will be operating without a contract on that date, correct?
Currently, right now. Right now,
Okay.
yes.
How, I don't know if you can answer it, how often did you receive any payment on the, must be on the garbage service of the town in the last 3 or 4 years? Do you have any type of a payment scale that we paid? I'm just trying to figure out where we stop and just let everything ride, because it's very obvious, and what I've read so far, the Republic has called or notified Saukville is that they're behind on their bill. That's what I'm gathering from the stuff I heard, correct? Yeah, you just said so yourself a couple minutes ago.
It is certainly an ongoing communication
Okay.
between the village and Republic's office.
Let me get just a couple of things in first. In your proposal, you said that each residence will receive a new container. Is that correct?
Yes, for recycling.
Okay. In addition to what we already have, those will be
Yes.
taken, we get a new container.
Nothing's going to be taken away.
Okay.
Right.
All right. And also, in addition, you will be supplying some type of pickup for large items and stuff like that. Now we have to call in for a large pickup.
Well, the one bulk item per week will remain
Still
at no
in
charge.
operation, Okay.
At no charge. So a couch, the resident can put it out, and there's no charge for the resident to do that.
Contractors, will they still be paying the rate for the boxes and stuff? That won't be included in our,
This doesn't impact them.
this is just residential stuff.
Correct.
I got one more question for you. You said that you believe we are underbilled by 228,000?
Correct.
That's the correct amount? Wow. And then every year, according to the new contract, we're looking at approximately about a 3% increase, $3-4, something like that every year. Is that what I'm looking at?
No, it wouldn't be that much. It would be 3%.
So 3% of what of our current bill would be
Yes,
our 19, whatever it is.
yes.
That's all I have to.
Trustee Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we do not resolve this tonight, how soon will Republic stop picking up garbage in Sauk Village?
Tomorrow.
Thank Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. DeLuca, I have a couple of questions, and they're questions or proposals. First of all, I'd like to say, yes, we've been involved with you guys for years. Way before I even thought about moving out here, we've had Skyline. Skyline has been with us through thick and thin. When we couldn't pay, they were there. Now they're still here. You're a business. You got acquired by Republic, and I understand that. You no longer have total control. As a matter of fact, in 2013, it was said that they were shopping around for another scavenger, and I kind of said the same thing I'm saying now. You've been through with us through thick and thin. You offered, and you admitted, and it was stated back and forth that it was both parties that got us to this situation. It was both parties that happened, and we're at fault. We being at fault because we didn't raise the rates, you being at fault because you didn't notify us, but however, it was both parties. My question to you, sir, and it's probably something you may have to take back to Republic. I would like to know if we can offer a payment of, within the next few weeks, of $200,000 and take the other 180-some thousand and spread it out throughout the years. And would Republic go for, because it is both parties, would Republic go for that rather than trying to do this? We're in arrears. Somehow or another the money came in. I have a question. Why weren't you giving money at least 2 to 3 times a month? That being said, because you have the regular payment, which the residents pay on average about 65%. Then they get a shut-off notice. Then they come back with another 15%. Then they actually get ready to get shut off. So you got another 8 or 9%. That money comes in every month because we get shut off notices every month. Were you ever given but one? How many payments were you given from this village each month? That's the first question. And the second question, I asked for an invoice from Republic here to the Sauk Village. In other words, you give us an invoice with your heading on it, how much we owe. I know you give the village one of those because how can you expect payment if you don't? But I couldn't see one and have not seen when I saw what we paid, and I was under the impression, because the second question I'm asking is, were you told that we would pay what we get in or would we pay what the invoice stated? So those are the 2 questions.
The second question, the objective, thank you for the questions, trustee, is that we would receive payment for the amount that was collected. That the village would pay Republic the amount that was collected, regardless of the number of homes that were picked up.
Okay.
The first question about the number of payments per month, there was some months there was no payment received.
And then my last proposal, is that something that you could take back? I mean, we're here talking now. I understand you're stating that if we don't ratify something tonight, tomorrow or by the end of the week, garbage service will be shut off. I'm asking, is it possible that if we pay a payment by the end of this week of $200,000, can we reconsider and pay the rest of it over a period of 3 years?
Well, tonight, we're here tonight, and I can only submit to you that the proposal before you tonight is what we have spent some time working on and crafting in a way that we feel is the best for both parties. And we feel that this was the best result, considering the situation, considering the circumstances and all of them. We've conducted a lot of research. We've conducted an audit on the homes in the village. We've done a pro forma here back at Republic, and I can only present to you what we have come up with tonight.
Right, and I understand that. That's why I was asking. There's something that you can take back, because as was stated a few minutes ago, we weren't privy to know what negotiations were proposed to you? It was asked, was anything else proposed to you? It was asked, was the payment of, $200,000 proposed to you, and you said you didn't remember that. So I'm asking tonight, can we do that? Can we make that proposal? And that's something that the board would have to discuss, I'm sure, but that's just something that I would like to throw out there, rather than all the other things to try to work with, because it is both of our problems. So that's something I don't know if you can answer. I don't know if anyone can answer that question. Is that something that we can put this on hold to find out if we can get an answer to that? Because that would be one of the things I would like to see, rather than tie the village up for the next 14 years and not able to do any negotiation. You guys have a business, and we basically, this village is a business. So I'm just asking for something that we could work with. Yes, we owe you. I'm not denying we don't. And hopefully we can, work with that. I did not know that we're only paying in regards to $16 instead of it being the $18.64. And so I'm just asking, because had I known, we could have resolved this back at budget time. That if we knew this back in May, April, when we were doing the budget, that we would incorporate and put that into the budget or an aging report. This never showed up on our aging report. We did not know we owed this money. That's the reason why I'm asking for a leeway right now. Had we known that, quite naturally, that $400,000 or whatever it was at that time would have been added in, and we could have done something about that. So that's what I'm asking.
I have a question. I know that the village administrator has stated over the course of a couple meetings that there's been negotiations with Republic as far as the balance that we owed and how to move forward. But we've had two trustees tonight suggest a partial payment and then move forward. And while I think it's a great idea for you to take that back to your company, my question is not necessarily for you, sir. It's for the board to figure out where would we get $200,000 from? Because when we talked about fireworks for $6,000, we said we couldn't do fireworks, and we could better use that $6,000 for something else. Which I was all for, sure.
And you're absolutely right.
If they have fireworks or not, that's a village problem. Fine.
You're absolutely right.
We decided to not use that $6,000. And you spoke about an aging report, Trustee Burgess. Yes, there's a very lengthy aging report. And you spoke about the budget, and no, this $200,000 payment would not be in the budget. So I guess my question is that where would we find? I don't want to send Mr. DeLuca back to his company and say, the village has suggested this. Can we work with them? If in all reality, there's not a place to grab $200,000.
And I understand that, trustee, and I'm glad you asked that question. That's a very good question. My first place would be that to look for the money will come from the 13 employees we just hired here in the village. That would be the first thing. 13 employees that we just increased this year. That would help us. Then we can go from there. That would be the first thing. We don't have money. We don't have money for everything. To hire 13 part-time employees and we're here struggling trying to pay our bills is ludicrous. So yes, I will start with the 13 people that were just hired, minus their salaries at, $17 an hour for 20 hours a week. We can start with that and then go from there. And then we do have money in the water fund because we just stated we collected money. We pay payroll with water. Why not pay this? This is something people pay.
Absolutely, but I guess my concern is that, right, we go to the water fund and this board just gets rated about going to the water fund to use it to pay bills. So it's okay for one thing.
No, it's not okay, trustee. This man is here looking for money that we supposed to have paid. He even stated that in some months he didn't get anything. Okay, so we come here and ask for payments for other things from the water fund to pay gasoline. We hadn't have gas. We was getting ready. We had to pass an immediate check to pay for gasoline for someone to drive the cars to go to work. We had an officer that used his own ATM card to get gasoline, and he had to wait until we ratified it at the accounts payable. How come he couldn't get it out of petty cash the very next day? He could have said it in the police station and said, my car is empty, I can't go anywhere, but he didn't do that. He became proactive. There's things we can do. We go to other funds for other things. This is something that a corporation has been dealing with this village for long before I even thought about being here. And we cannot give them the courtesy to say, okay, we both messed up. We both weren't accountable. We weren't informed as far as the village, because this would have came out a long time ago had I heard about it. And I would have been against anyone getting hired until we paid a facility that we are paid for. People pay their garbage bills to this village. So why are we behind if we get paid this? Because if they don't fulfill their obligation, we shut their water off. We shut it off. There is no such thing. So how can we tell them we don't have no money? We collected something, we got something, and people paid late payments and they paid shut off. For them for a company to come to this village and say we may get something every month, but may not, that's not acceptable. That's why I wanted to find out, because I'm really embarrassed to know that people paid their payment, paid their bill, and we're now trying to negotiate to keep garbage from being set out on the street or to make sure that it's picked up. That's embarrassing. However we get it. When we have the money, let's put it in there. If had it been on an aging report, trustee, yes, I would have brought that up. And yes, I would have questioned that. Because it shouldn't be. It's something that's paid every other month by this village. They pay their bills every other month. If they are delinquent, guess what we do? We shut their water off. So they're coming here to tell us that we're delinquent, but they gave us what? Years to pay. We only give the villagers what? 1 month, 15, 20 days, that water's got off. They've given us years. And what have we done about it? It took them coming here before us and asking us for our money, for their money. So by whatever means it is that we have to get it, we should consider that. Not try to negotiate, consider paying them their money that is duly theirs. We collect for them.
I don't disagree with that.
And my second thing, trustee, would be, and this is something that I would love to see, is from now on, after we do this, go back to the old system where you go to Republic or Skyline, whoever it is that you pay your garbage bill, and you don't pay it, they scratch off unless you deal with them. Not have us hold the money. Because us holding the money got us to where we at.
I think that that's a partial problem, but the other partial problem was stated is that there was underbilling happening too. And you talked about compromise in your statement, and I think that that's what Mr. Booth just said, that there was problems on both ends, and this was the compromise that came up. So you have a company that you've also said has worked with us for many years, has been good to us as far as did we need something, if we were behind on a payment, many different reasons and ways that they've been good to us. We have trouble with extending their contract, and they're willing to release their portion of the problem as well as our portion of the problem with continuing their contract. So to offset that, what I'm hearing is that we don't want to continue another 10 years, but we want to pay them, which is very admirable. I, as a trustee and as a village resident, I wish we could pay every bill that's on the aging report and those that are not apparently on the aging report. But the fact of the matter remains is I honestly do not want to send him back into negotiations without a concrete place of where are we going to find the $200,000. And as far as the employees that you spoke about, we've had Public Works sit here for years tell us they needed more help. They couldn't do it all on their own. You have empty lots that people have been complaining about. There's possums and there's rats and they're going to get my kids and all this other stuff that Public Works couldn't cut. So we hired new people and now you see that the empty lots are getting mowed. We have people complaining about the violence getting worse in Sauk Village, and it's not just in Sauk Village, people, it is everywhere. But you have people saying that we have all these concerns. So we hire part-time officers. Now you're suggesting to remove those part-time officers to pay this back balance. And as far as the other personnel that we've hired, that is maybe debatable. But those two departments, which had the most people employed, I think that that's something that is a feather in the village's cap as far as I'm concerned, is being able to hire those part-time personnel to help the services in Sauk Village. Now, if that's a suggestion to cut those people from our village to pay this bill, that's something that I think the village should think a lot about. And then as far as the audience members, who I'm hearing in the background, who may agree with this idea, just if that's what this village does move forward, I just caution that the audience members remember that when we're complaining about lawns not being cut, when we're complaining about police response time, when we're complaining about all those different things, that the village has stated multiple times that they want more people in these departments. And then when the village board did it, now it's let's take it back. When I think Republicans coming to us and saying, we may have made a mistake, you may have made a mistake, let's make a compromise, we'll forgive you of this balance if you continue on.
And after giving the balance, it's built in.
Desperate times, desperate measures.
There you go.
That's just, we're put here on the spot. And this is a desperate situation for the community. And we're under fire right now to do something tonight. And since this is the only time we had to prepare for anything, I mean, this is the most desperate situation we can do. I mean, there's nothing much else we could do but go back to the drawing board and say, we can't start making cuts. And I got a question. Did you go over this with the finance committee?
No.
Were you able to go over this, Mr. Myers, with the ordinance review board for us, this ordinance?
I saw the ordinance tonight. A new ordinance for all garbage.
Okay, so I just want to ask, normally what we do around here, this is for all the trustees. We go through policy, we go through the finance committee, is that true? When we get ready to spend money, lock in ourselves with, as far as finances?
The Budget and Finance Committee is a relatively new committee, so no, there hasn't been a instance where before we review a new contract, it's gone before the Budget and Finance Committee.
But everything else has been going through the budget and finance committee. So, I mean, why?
What trustee?
I mean, as far as any information, if we need any information as far as any finances, we were told to contact you and you would find the answers.
As of last week, Saturday.
Yes.
As of the last board meeting, when the mayor stated that the finance director would no longer be attending, and then 2 Fridays ago, after the last board meeting, the mayor stated at the last board meeting, because we didn't have one last Tuesday, the week before that, the mayor stated the finance director would no longer be coming. That following Friday, the finance committee met, and at that point, that following Saturday, you received an email from myself stating if you had any financial questions about accounts payable, you could contact myself. That's what that was. But I don't want anybody to be under the misconception that any contract has ever come before the finance committee prior to it coming before this board. That, I don't know if that's something that is in the plan or something, something that I don't know, but nothing has ever come to us and said, review this first and then take it to the board.
Okay, so I got a question. When was the first time you knew about this, that tonight we're gonna have to make a decision and vote on?
This document that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Tonight's the first time I've seen this.
Mr. Myers, trustee Myers.
We normally don't get involved in agreements. However, as I said, we have not received the ordinance. This is the ordinance. We received the same time you guys did.
Just so
Mr. Tate.
Just so we're clear, this is not an ordinance we're voting on tonight.
Excuse me?
That's not an ordinance we're voting on tonight. That's the previous ordinance from 2011.
We have not received the ordinance on this current.
Yeah,
And we don't do agreements. So.
We are here tonight to review the agreement during the 6 o'clock meeting. During the 7 o'clock meeting is where we'll vote to approve or not to approve the agreement. By next Tuesday, you'll have an ordinance that will be reviewed to make sure that the ordinance matches everything that we agreed to. And the following Tuesday is when the ordinance will be passed. This is tonight saying that if we're going to agree that Republic can go, Mr. Luca can go back to Republic and say that the board has agreed to the agreement, and then we're going to be passing the ordinance in 2 weeks.
But just to clarify, while you asked me if this was the first time I've seen this document, the village administrator has stated several times, at several different board meetings, that he was in contact with Republic. And if I'm not mistaken, at the last board meeting, he did state that they would be coming to talk to us about a new agreement.
Okay, but did we see any figures or any, that's what I'm saying. We could talk about it for 2 years until we see we need to take action. That's when we take action. We were notified that we need to take action tonight, and now we gotta take action tonight. This is all I'm saying. We could have been saying it for 2 years. But until, when did I thought we was gonna get a chance to have a discussion before we have to vote on it. So I don't know who's dragging their feet, but we never got that chance, and this is why we're sitting here now, and we're in a desperate situation where we could have alleviated this problem if we would have known. That's all I'm saying.
I just want to question things up real quick, if you don't mind. I wrote myself some notes today. First of all, I'd clear up some misinformation and rumors that have been floating around. First of all, tonight, the Sauk Village residents will have the opportunity, which you have already, to hear the synopsis of Republic's proposed agreement between the village and Sauk Village and Republic. Prior to taking action on the agreement, the public will have the opportunity to comment. We're going to have comments here pretty soon. The agreement will not be acted on or voted on until the 7 o'clock meeting tonight, again, which the public will again have opportunity to comment. There has been numerous of hours that have gone back and forth between the public and Sauk Village to be able to come up with a proposal that would be in the best interest. This proposal was emailed to the village board on Saturday morning. It's the same thing I hear a lot of people saying they haven't seen this agreement. It was emailed to the village board on Saturday morning, which gave them the opportunity to contact me with any questions over the remainder of the weekend, Monday, and they had all day today. Funds received, I've heard talks about the funds being received to pay your garbage bill. Funds received for garbage collection on water bills are separately removed and are paid to Republic for what's coming in. Now, if you've heard the talk about the $228,000 of underbilling, there's about $162,000 of money where it's because of lack of payment from village residents, because of vacant homes, and people not paying their funds. Now, I'm going to go in here and tell you what we've done to resolve and to keep this from happening in the future. But what was happening was Sauk Village was getting billed for every single house. Okay? So I just want to make sure that, let me tell you what's taking place over the last quite a few months that we've been working on this. It came to our attention when Finance Director Raul identified invoices from the Republic or more than what was being collected from the village residents. That means more garbage was being picked up than what was being billed. This has been happening for a number of years. And as you said, the underbilling has happened ever since 2011. It goes back to houses being picked up that were not getting billed, goes back probably just as far. Okay? Again, why we have such a large amount. Village Administrator, on my behalf, initiated meetings with the Republic to look at our discrepancies because we didn't feel that we should have to owe this much. Okay? Reed Paxton went through prior invoices and identified unpaid water bills, houses that were being serviced and then billed, and there's other potential issues and stuff that he saw that could have led to the reason why we were not making enough money to pay Republic. Again, a lot of that goes back to the underbilling, which was $16.75, I think it is, when really it should have been 18 something. We had Sherry Jasinski, who's reported in multiple meetings. She worked with Code and Housing Commission to identify vacant properties where people are living illegally. Even the chief of police talked about squatters living in these homes and getting water service, and they were also getting garbage pickup. Public Director Kevin Weller, he works with Code and Water Department, and all these departments also works with Republic. I don't have it here on here, but I know they reached out going back and forth. But identifying occupied homes that had no water service or occupancy permits. Again, they were not paying for water, they were not paying for garbage pickup, they were getting water and they were getting in. JW has reported on this for months at the village board meeting about some of the issues we've had. Again, I think Mr. Luca here, but I wish Luca. But I thank you and I thank Ernie for all the work that you've done. And again, you talked about us going back and forth in good faith. There has been a lot of good faith going back and forth. There's been a lot of work to go through and to try to come up with something. And take a look at the proposal tonight. I know there's talk about we're going to come up with $200,000. I don't even think we have $200,000 sitting in the bank account right now, but and I'm going to be very, very honest with you. I don't know where that $200,000 is going to come from. To start laying people off, you understand you're still going to be paid for a time period and stuff like that. So to be able to say that the village will pay $200,000 this week is not true. We do not have those funds in our bank account. But if you go through these points, Republic, on point number 1, the village owes as of July 31st, $389,905. They're willing to absorb that money and bring us back down to zero. They're asking for a 10-year extension to their contract, which will put them up to March 31st, 2030. The new rate will be $19.64 an hour. I'm sorry, an hour. $19.64 a month. And they're also including a senior rate inside this contract, which was not in any other contract. And the senior rate would be $1 less. Okay. Now, to give the residents an understanding, currently right now you're paying $18.43 a month. The new rate will increase it by $1.21 a month. If you break that down by day on a 30-day month, that's only 4 cents per day. Now, what else are they including? They're including recycling. A 95-gallon recycling bin. They will pick up every other month. They will provide training on how to use that and talk about how it will be picked up. On top of that, your current contract that we have with Skyline is a 5% increase every year. This new one will be 3%. So we're dropping 2% based off of that. So let's see here. We already talked about the house counts. Mr. Luca already talked about Republic doing house counts. They agreed to do a house count semi-annually, working with the village, or Public Services and the village shall, at a minimum, conduct a semi-annual house count, so that we're making sure that every house that's getting garbage pickup is someone who is living in those homes and paying the water bill. So, because the garbage pickup or the garbage fees are paid through your water bills. So, I know there's been a lot of talk and things said, but again, just so we're very clear, is tonight, during the 6 o'clock meeting, which we're going a little bit over, is to review the proposed agreement with Skyline. Tonight at 7 o'clock on the agenda, there is a portion in there to approve the agreement. The ordinance will come before the village board after the village board either approves, and if they approve, there will be an ordinance brought before the village board next Tuesday evening to make sure that what was agreed to tonight is in ordinance form. And then it will go before a vote in 2 weeks at a regular board meeting. So I just want to clear up some of those things.
So, question.
Trustee Gates.
Administrative Tim, how much is being collected for garbage every month?
I don't have a number for that.
Here's the thing, Mr. DeLuca, you guys have sat here and heard the discussions, and you can see there's a lot of confusion that exists. Here's the real problem. The real problem is Administrator Fairman had the task of negotiating with you over a period of time. And we did not, some of us did not know what was stated in those negotiations or what proposals were made. There was no contact with the board so that we would be apprised of it as you progressed along. If that had occurred, then nothing would be a surprise to us at this point, because we've been apprised every month that you guys are negotiating, if whatever that frequency was, we would have been kept informed, and there would be no surprises for us. People are ignoring the fact that the trustees, whether you like the trustees or not, are responsible for the expenditure of funds. They're responsible for protecting our residents as much as we can. Now, I've been bombarded with comments about this new agreement for the last couple of days at least. And I say I just received this packet tonight, so I have not read it. I have not read one paragraph of it. But residents, especially those, and I guess everybody's on a fixed income one way or another, but residents are concerned about the 3% increase. They're concerned about 14 years instead of the 4 years that we have. And I heard concerns about the inability to negotiate with another company should they have a lower rate or provide similar services at a lower rate based on their incomes, just individuals. So this whole thing falls apart because of the lack of communication. That's the bottom line. The lack of communication and exchange of ideas. This board, if they had been apprised, could provide suggestions to Administrator Fairman and say, when you go back to the table, we'd like you to consider discussing this item. But he did it blind, so to speak, because he didn't have input from all 6 trustees. He may have had input, excuse me. He may have had comments or suggestions from 1 or 2 trustees, but as a body, he did not. He may have had suggestions from the mayor, but as a body, he did not. So therefore, he had a half a glass of water instead of a full glass in order to sit at the table and say, this is what everyone is saying in Sauk Village. Let's discuss it. No negotiations are conducted, I shouldn't say no, because some negotiations are conducted in the blind. They should not be conducted in the blind. We have 9,000 residents to be concerned about. Now, the question came up earlier about discontinuance of service, and I think the response is kind of, well, immediately that will be done. Sauk Village is going down the path. If you watch the news the last few weeks, Flint, Michigan is in this situation. And what they've been told is to store their garbage in their homes because it's not being picked up. Do we want to do that? Is that what we want our residents to do? They've been paying their bills religiously, continuously, and now we're going to say we're not going to pick up your garbage, store it in your garage, put it in your living room? I think not. I think not. And I'm not, and please don't think it's personal. It is not personal. I'm not taking out on Republic at all. I'm just saying there's a lack, and Trustee Jones, you're using your word transparency. I hate to do that. There is none. There is none. Our residents are being blindsided, but we were blindsided. So it rolls down here. That's the way it happens. So whatever happens, just so you know where we stand, and I hope you don't force the residents to have to store garbage in their homes or their garages because this board failed to honor the 10-year proposal that you guys negotiated.
One last question, Mr. Clerk.
I just want to clear something up. I know that Trustee Tates might think that J.W. Fairman negotiated. J.W. Fairman didn't negotiate.
He just said he negotiated the last meeting.
That's how you talk.
Yes, you did. I apologize. Yes, you did.
J.W. Fairman's responsibility was to get information going back and forth. Okay? It was my responsibility to negotiate. Okay? So what we did was getting the information, getting the house counts, finding out what garbage was being picked up, finding what was being built. He was doing all the background getting all the information, and going back and forth and providing information to the public, okay? Tonight, the proposal came from Republic saying, here's what we've got, okay? Tonight, I called for the special call meeting because of the urgency. Again, and I apologize, Mr. Chairman, for you taking the blunt of this because you shouldn't have to, okay? Because if you want to talk about what he did, and he works quite closely with Ernie, getting the information, whatever Ernie asked for, he got the information for him, things like that. When it came down to sitting down and looking at this agreement and reviewing it, it's the mayor's responsibility. That's why I bring it to you tonight to review. That's why I asked Republic to come to the meeting to present it, and the board has the right to vote the way you feel. There's not going to be any hard feelings, but I think it's been very, very clear the urgency of this. I think a lot of people have blown it out of proportion about the amounts. I mean, again, I'm not going to continue going over and over, but the added, what they're adding to this contract. The amounts of the increases is only 3%, which is, we've been paying 5% ever since 2011, I think it is. If you look at your old ordinances before you show what's been increased, 5%, okay? Again, wiping a bill clean, that we start from zero and we start paying. We're in a better position now because between Republic and the Village of Sauk Village, we know which houses are supposed to be picked up. So we should not get into a position where houses are being picked up because we have that working relationship now. And again, going back through and doing semi-annual audits of the village, which would make it where houses that are vacant, they don't have water, they're squatters, those houses should not be being picked up. We're able to keep an eye on those and not get billed from where we were being billed in the past. So again, I apologize, Mr. Fairman, because he did help get the information and set up meetings for me. The negotiation part comes from this desk right here.
Well, if you recall, in one of the meetings, Administrator Fairman said he was negotiating, his words, the resolution of the delinquency dollar amount. Okay? Negotiate. He didn't say, I'm feeding the mayor information so he can say it. He said he was negotiating. Now, if he was not negotiating, as you say, then he should not have said it. So I do not apologize and say that he was involved in the conversation that led us here today. If you want to take that responsibility, then you're responsible for us being here today. You're going to be responsible if the garbage does not get picked up. You're going to be responsible for that because you wait to the last minute. I got this tonight. Why did I get this tonight? Why did I get this tonight? Listen, read my lips. I received this tonight. You can't tell me I received it Saturday morning. Were you there when I picked this up? Saying it wasn't in my box Saturday morning. It wasn't in my box yesterday. Does that mean that I received it? She wrote an email against the trustees and had it distributed to Dunkin' Donuts. So what do I care about what she says she sent out?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Trustee Lee.
I'm going to refer the floor to Trustee Byers because he did remind me he was first. I will yield the floor to you, sir.
I have one question for the gentleman in front of us. You have to have your answer tonight.
From our perspective, this has not been a last-minute situation at all. At all. This has been a very open, transparent process from our perspective. There has not been a suspension of service because we have held off to formalize this agreement here tonight.
All right. Oh, that puts us in a spot here to...
I'm just a little confused about a couple different things. Mr. Duluth, I'm so sorry, we should both have to sit here and listen to this. But I'm just confused, because I know we talked about before about the board stating that they were aware that this was happening, that we were in this conversation, and I mentioned that Mr. Fairman had stated at a couple board meetings, Mr. Julica stated that he's received minutes that said that it's been talked about at board meetings, but trustees have said that they didn't know that this was happening. And then we talked about how we did know that Mr. Fairman said something because we just quoted something that he said. He said he did a negotiation. But 20 minutes ago, we were saying that we didn't know that this was happening, that this was going on. And then we talked about that we have people saying that they didn't receive the email, or maybe that they didn't receive it till tonight. The actual physical document we didn't get till tonight. Okay, fine. But the email was on Saturday, and we say that residents have come to us. A couple of different board members have said residents have come to them and they are concerned about the 10-year increase and the 3% rate, the 3% rate hike. Now, I may be wrong, but I don't recall Mr. Fairman in all of his conversations talking about a 10-year extension of the contract or a 3% rate increase. So now my mind's working, and I don't understand if the residents came to the trustees with concerns about the 10-year or the 3%, how the residents knew if the board says they didn't know until tonight when we got the contract. So I'm confused. I don't know what residents came up and spoke, because nobody talks to me. Nobody has come to me and said, I don't like the 10 years, I don't like the 3%. So I'm sure that there are residents who have, but residents must have been able to get that information. And if it was a confidential document, I don't know how they got that information, but if they did get that information, my question is, how did they get back to the board with answering those questions when the board was the only one that get the information and put it out there? Regardless, because those are questions I don't know that really can be answered. But my point is this. We've talked about going back and forth with the public and coming to an agreement. We didn't physically get the agreement until via email on Saturday, and I know that some people have talked about concerns with emails and not getting their emails, so it's only been in the box today. But regardless of all of that, we have a decision to make at the 7 o'clock meeting, which we're already late for. You can vote yes, you can vote no. As a board, we have to hold responsible what our actions are if we vote yes and if we vote no. I know that there was suggestions from trustees to take back to Republic and say that, this is what it's a counter offer, if you will, from the Board of Trustees, who I know it's been stated that we have the task of keeping the task of financial responsibilities in the village, which is very true. But I can tell you, and I'm just one trustee, that should that be something you take back to Republic, and should there be something that says that would be something that you're willing to do, A, I don't know where $200,000 is going to come from, and B, I will not vote for people to lose their jobs to pay this bill. That's just my opinion. I'm just one trustee. So take that however this board wants to take it, or how you want to take it, sirs. But that's not something I would be willing to vote on. But I think we need to stop doubling back and backtracking. Either we knew that Mr. Fairman was talking about it, since we can quote him. Either we read the contract, since residents already know that there's a 10-year extension and a 3% increase, or we didn't. Because if that's not what's in disagreement right now. What's in disagreement is, yes, we're going to go forward, or no, we're going to go forward. And that's all there is to it. There was a couple different suggestions. As a board, we have individuals, we have the right to vote how we want to vote. And one thing is going to happen, or it's not going to happen. And if it says that, we're not going to go forward, and Republic is their own company, and if they choose to suspend garbage service, they're telling us this is a possibility. And if that's what happens, then as a village, that's what the village makes a decision, and as a village, we have to be able to accept that decision. Because once the majority of the board votes, that's it. That's all we can do. So I would just like to, I know I'm sure other people have questions, but, we are already running late for our 20 minutes late for our next meeting. This is a topic for the next meeting discussion, and I was just wondering if maybe we could go on to, I'm sure people in the audience have questions. We've been talking long enough. Maybe it's time to turn it over move on to the next item, which would allow the audience to talk, because again, we're already 20 minutes late for our next meeting.
I got a question.
Trustee Jones.
Is this a democracy or a dictatorship?
Okay, there you go.
Because if you, Mr. Mayor, had information and you chose not to disseminate it with us, and then turn around and put us under the gun, with the gun to our heads, with the residents and everyone that's up here, garbage not being collected. I don't know how fair that is to anyone. If you had information, why didn't you give us any information as we went along? That's all I want. Why wasn't we notified step by step so we wouldn't have this right now?
But when we got the information on Saturday,
Saturday. What is Saturday?
Saturday is 3 days before today.
What is Saturday?
But if you got it then, and if residents had enough time to review the documentation and come to the trustees with questions, why didn't those questions then come to the, why was there not information from the trustees? If the trustees can receive questions, why weren't those questions given to the mayor? Why weren't they given to the village administrator?
Yes, it was.
Why was Mr. DeLuca not called and said, hey, we got a question?
Simple reason. I asked Jacob Farrell, did he see this last contract? I asked Mohan, which is over the finance. This is where we get all of our money situation from. I went directly to the source and couldn't get an answer. Mohan told me he had not seen this last contract.
He's not involved in the.
It don't matter. This is how we have to find the money. He is in charge of the billing. So where else do we supposed to find it from?
The finance director wouldn't be involved in contract negotiations.
But not in finance negotiations, but he would know when the bills were paid, correct or not?
Right, but if you asked him if he saw this contract,
Okay.
he would say no. Because
Besides the point,
contract.
he couldn't tell me, I couldn't get an invoice. So why couldn't I get an invoice? Okay, that's exactly what I'm saying. I couldn't get an invoice. Not you, not anyone else. I'm talking specifically about me.
I didn't ask for an invoice, so.
Okay, but I asked for invoice because I want to know what we're going to be charging the people. So that's why I asked. Some people may not ask questions. Some people may be directed to take a vote because they was directed to do it. But I am not here directed by no one. I am here to find answers, and I could not find them. And the mayor had answers. He normally is not around for it. So why bother with that? That's something totally different. So you're not going to get an answer. You can't get an answer during the meeting. So what makes you think we can get an answer out of the mayor giving an email?
There you go.
Seriously.
All right,
I'd like to respond to one thing Trustee Williams brought up. I'm the individual that said that the residents raised the issue with the $422,000 in 10 years. And that is what Administrator Fairman said at the meeting, and you can check the audio. It won't be in the written minutes. You can check the audio, and he said $422,000 in 10 years. That's how the residents found out. So it wasn't confidential information that was provided. It was stated in a public meeting.
But he never stated 3%, so you said the residents were concerned about the 3%.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I'm not sure of the source of it, but I'm telling you about the first part that I am sure. Now, the 3% I get, when the resident comes to me with the issue, I would say, well, who told you that? Where did you get that from? I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in that they have a concern. I am a trustee. I am supposed to be able to respond to it. Simple as that. So the 422,000 in 10 years was something that was stated publicly. Every resident that wanted to know that, it was available. It was no secret. And we're not disclosing anything Mr. Fairman said confidentially and behind closed doors to anyone. That was a public meeting. And everything was said is open for anybody to hear. So I just wanted to straighten it out.
Mayor, we started this whole process with looking at vacant housing and looking at squatters. We started finding out, actually started looking at who was paying, were we paying the Republic for a vacant house?
Can you use a
We gathered all
microphone?
this information together. We gathered all this information together, and we called Mr. Lopez and say, we need to try to reconcile this number. You say negotiate, I said reconcile this number of houses. You need to go back and count the houses. We have a count of houses, and then we're gonna come back. The board negotiates contracts. I do not. I negotiate with them about the numbers that we thought were being charged for that money. That's what, and the amount of money that we could identify based on those numbers. That's where we came up with that money. So we haven't negotiated, they have negotiated with good faith in terms of coming to me, and actually they said, we'll go back and we'll count it. We said, we'll count it. Is that right, Mr. Lopez?
That's correct.
So that's the negotiation I did. I don't negotiate contracts, don't have authority to, don't want to. No, I am here to stop the bleeding when the Sauk Village is constantly getting further and further behind. I did not know that until we start this whole thing about the process of finding out vacant houses and squatters in this town. Thank you.
All right. Just real quick to go over, tonight the board's going to have an agreement for them that Republic is going to, or willing, according to the agreement, erase $389,905, which will bring the village back down to owing, starting at zero. They will increase the rate to $19.64 per month, which is an increase to the village residents of $1.21 a month. That's the increase. They will add a senior discount, which will be $1 less per month for seniors. They will provide all the information on how seniors can receive that discount. They have reduced the amount that they will increase every year from 5%. Please, people in the back can't hear because you're talking back there. They will decrease the amount, which is by the current contract of 5%, down to 3% per year for an increase. And they are including, at no additional cost, a 95-gallon recycle cart. They will also provide information on recycling and how to use that, which will be picked up every other month. They've also agreed to go through a house count semi-annually every year to make sure that what we're getting billed for, there's actually people living in those houses and they have water accounts. So with that said, I would say if you have any questions or comments, please come to the podium. Excuse my question. Mike.
Bernice Brewer, according to your July 26th blog, Mr. Mayor, you indicated the 10-year agreement is actually on the internet. And also, I want to know, how come the water fund doesn't have $200,000 in it? You use it for everything else. Secondly, this seems like another way of fleecing the residents. We pay our bills on time. You guys feel like you can do whatever you want with our money. We want to know what happened to our money. Secondly, I want to know who specifically did you talk to? If you guys knew that we didn't pay our bills, it seems like somebody didn't pay our bills. Mohan, I have been asking all the time, who's watching him? You got a village clerk, village administrator over there, we pay $100,000 to it. He didn't know we didn't owe money. We want to know what happened to our money and why are we going to be penalized for paying this money again? And I want to know why are we going to be locked into a company. It seems like that's a win-win for Republicans. What are we getting out of it? We're going to spend 10 years locked up to these people. If you don't pay them next year, we're going to be right back at the same thing. What are you guys going to do to safeguard our money? I want to know what are you guys doing to protect us? It seems like every time we come in here, you guys are spending money and you can't give us explanation. There's no respect. Don't answer anything. And July 26th, Mr. Mayor, you're not paying any attention to us. You had it on our block, on your block, but there was no meeting last week. That's something we could have talked about. So I want to know, we're paying you guys all this big time money. You say the village is broke. We want to know what you're doing with it. Can somebody answer my question? It seems like the public is running away with it. We're not getting anything out of it. So what's going on? I mean, I can save a whole bunch of money. Why would you hire 13 people and then you can't pay a garbage bill? Why every time you turn around, you gotta go into the water fund? You need infrastructure repairs out here. On and on and on. But yet, the guy comes up here and said, we haven't paid the bill the last 3 or 4 years. How in the world, in this real world, if they tell you that your fee has been raised, would they go back and try to get money? If you made a mistake, Sauk made a mistake, the Republic made a mistake, that's it. That's not our fault. Why do we have to go back and pay something we've already paid for? Something is wrong with this picture. Somebody doesn't know how to add. Any comments? I'd like to know, where is my money? Where's the people's money? How come you guys didn't pay them? If they lost, if they didn't tell us that they needed to raise, why are you guys tell us? Where's the money?
All right, again, just so we make sure that we're very clear that of the amount that is inside this agreement that's due, there's $228,000 in underbilling.
We paid them.
Underbilling means it was not paid. The residents were not being charged what they should have been charged. From 2011.
That's not our fault.
You know, I shouldn't have to continue going over the rules. You know the rules. You've had your 3 minutes. I let you talk. All right?
Okay.
So there's $228,000 under billing that was not charged to the residents and paid. There was another approximately $162,000 that came from lack of payments from residents not paying their bills, from vacant homes that were still getting picked up, and the money you talk about that people pay their bills, that money was paid to Republic. So what you have is you have underbilling and you have lack of payments from vacant homes and residents not paying their bills. So, and Mr. Fairman has been keeping the village board up to date probably almost every other week on where we're at on lack of payments from the water bill. So that's where we're at there. You know, and the question came out, and I've said it, and I'll say it again. You know, what are you getting for your $1.21 a month increase? Because that's what it is. $1.21 per month increase. What are you getting? I can read it to you again. You're having Republic absorb or erase $389,905. Okay? They are adding a senior rate for seniors to be able to get $1 less a month on their bills. They have reduced the amount that they will increase from 5% to 3% per year. They are including recycling at no additional cost. And they are going to work with the village and do semi-annual checks of houses that are being currently picked up. So, I mean, that kind of gives you a brief synopsis. Am I missing anything there? Or, I think I just got notes on there. So when the residents ask, what are you getting? You're getting stuff for that $1.21 increase. All right?
I didn't ask that. I know. I asked if we stood stuff residents. We didn't ask you guys. We take our money, we don't get into goods and services. You guys are wrong, and you know you're wrong.
You are out of order.
You need to get out of here. Don't make any sense.
That's a few questions, some of them maybe for Mr.
Don't talk
Historically,
to me. Don't talk to me.
whose responsibility was it to maintain the home?
Don't
by
talk to
the
me.
village, or was it Republic's? Why was this not on the aging report? And I have to refer back to something I heard exchanged between Mr. DeLuca and Trustee Burgess. At one point, when Trustee was asking about not receiving invoices, the question was asked about, was Republic looking for the amount billed or the amount collected? And Mr. DeLuca, I thought I heard you say the amount collected. So if it was the amount collected, why would we be behind on anything, right? So if we're being told we're $162,000 underpaid, that means there's invoices somewhere that would come up to that amount. Mayor, I heard you say every other month for the
recycling? I believe it's every other week, is that true?
Every other week, sorry.
Senior discount starts at what age? Lastly, how does this rate fall relative to other communities? And also in other communities, who's doing the billing, the garbage collector or the community itself? Because I would strongly urge the public to consider charging and doing billing themselves. Thank you.
All right.
All right, I'll answer the question about the agent report. The agent report, the agent report is because of the underbilling and looking at what we were charging the residents. You know, we were at the $16.35 when we started going off and seeing the bills and started, communicating with the Republic, going back and forth. Found out that the residents should have been paid should be paying $18.43 what you're paying currently. Okay, so you have quite a few years that it was not being paid. So, and then the senior discount. You guys do 65 for seniors? 65 for seniors. Did you have anything to respond to? Or? All right, next.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees. My name is Ethel Johnson, and I'm here representing Lincoln Metals. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak to you this evening. My questions and concerns are as follows. If there is no payment this evening or agreement, as I understand, it appears that there is going to be a suspension in service. If that's the case, how will Lincoln Metals, not only Lincoln Metals, Deer Creek, but how will Sauk Village residents know that their garbage will not be picked up? My other questions and concerns are, if Republic was sending bills directly to Sauk Village, whom in the village was receiving those bills? In addition, how with the bills that were being sent to Sauk Village, who was making those payments directly to Republic? In addition, other vendors may want to have, or is there any consideration for other vendors to submit a request for a proposal to service Sauk Village? Is there any consideration for us looking at other contracts and other vendors? In addition, the only other thing I want to say is this is really a crisis, and it appears that the aftermath of a crisis is usually worse than the crisis itself. So I would hate to see us putting any type of garbage in our homes and our garages. My other last question is, how many households in the village is being billed by Republic? I continue to hear that there are these vacant homes and lots. Do we have a concrete number of the number of homes that are being serviced by Republic? Thank you.
All right, the bills, invoices are sent into the village, so it comes through, goes through accounts payables. Who makes the payments? Again, that goes through accounts payable, so if you want to say who approves, the village board approves payments. When we talk about was any other vendors, currently, no, there's not, because they're currently under a contract. This is an extension of a contract. And how many houses are being served? You talk about like the vacant ones. Between the village, and you've got Sherry, Code, Public Works, Housing Commission, and working with Republic. Republic has done their survey. We've been able to bring our numbers together and identify all the vacant homes and which houses should not be picked up. So, and that's what we talked about inside this agreement, where they're going to do semi-annual audits of the village to make sure that people have left. And we'll go continue working with the village staff to make sure that we're only getting charged for the houses that should be getting charged. All right? Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I'm Margie Campbell-Pruitt, and I have just a couple of comments and one question I have. The first thing that I would like to appeal to each and every one of you is to know that I strongly feel that the burden of the negligence and poor business practices, whether it's on Republic's end or our end, I don't think that those fees should be borne by the residents of Sauk Village. Further, I would want to say that the increase, 3%, 5%, whatever it is, will eventually account for the consumers to be double billed and pay double the amount for the same service, seeing that we paid already. So now with the increases we'll be paying again, that piece is not fair. I have a concern for the outstanding balance that we have, because I just don't see that it should even be possible. I would like to see Republic to take over building, because evidently we're not qualified to really do it in an effective manner. And then the last one is a question, and if we're getting ready to enter into a 10-year contract, I would say that's a no-bid contract, and I want to know, is that legal?
Right.
That can answer my questions and concerns.
All right, we'll talk about the no bid contract. I've seen stuff about no bids. There's no reason for it to bid because we're already currently inside a contract. If you look at under the previous administration, there was an extension. So again, what you're looking at this ordinance that before the board tonight that was passed in 2011 by the senior trustees and the mayor on this board. In fact, it was probably the only thing under the previous administration that was passed anonymously by the entire board. That was an extension, and this would be the same thing, an extension. So, all right, thank you. We're going to post that post 6 months on the website, and we're going to give it the whole entire agreement with you sign for it. All right?
Yeah, this problem with the $300,000, somebody's happy. I mean, if he's willing to wipe the slate clean for $300,000, he's making some type of money off Sauk Village. It don't sound right. It just don't sound good. Somebody's hand is in somebody's pocket. How you gonna wipe the slate clean for $300,000 and then offer actually somebody for a 10-year contract? That's, y'all think we really stupid.
Mary Block. I'd like to read, it's from the mayor's desk, Monday, 1st of August, 2016. Sauk Village Administrator / Public Safety Director report, July 26, 2016. Scrolling down, scavenger contract update. As I stated at a previous board meeting, Sauk Village failed to execute the terms of its contractual agreement with the Public Scavenger Service. Its failure to execute those terms, adjustments of annual rate increases, and failure to provide accurate housing counts resulted in non-payment of services to the vendor of $422,424. Months ago, when I found out about these deficiencies and made the necessary corrections, when I found out about them, I thought the board controlled the money, but whatever. I have also been meeting with the vendor in an attempt to bring this matter to fair and equitable solution for both parties. After considerable negotiations to avoid a cutoff of service, the vendor has agreed to forgive the full debt owed by the village in exchange for a new 10-year contract agreement that will provide exact language spelling out each party's obligations. The vendor has asked to appear at the board's 8/16 committee of the whole meeting to present the terms of the new contract. So if he's asking to come and speak at the 8/16 meeting, why is it critical and why would services stop tomorrow immediately if it's not agreed upon tonight? Also, question for Mr. DeLuca, you knew you were coming to discuss the financial aspect, and when asked when the delinquencies began, you didn't have that information? As a businessman, I don't own a business, but as a businessman, I would think that you would have that information with you, as well as all the invoices that have been sent, so you could present to the board yourself as to how this began and how this debacle has happened. It just makes no sense to me how you can try to push through a contract for 10 years when you've got 4 years left on the existing contract. Makes no sense whatsoever.
Right.
I need public, Sauk Village. I would like to thank the public for working with us and for giving this loan and not charging retroactively. I also would like to know if anybody has investigated what audit accounts have gained. I know for a fact that Forest has home disposal pays about $21 a month. Okay, so there might be other communities that even pay more. Nobody's saying, when you give you money, everybody said, where's the money?
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Ryan Grant. And two questions. First question is there any provision in the current agreement that we can discontinue service? And question two, if the board does choose to sign a new 10-year agreement, is there any provision in that agreement before we can discontinue service?
There you go, one question?
Two questions.
Those two questions. We both in the same. It's if you fail to provide service, is that correct? All right, thank you. Only thing a lawyer can answer this question. Your last name is Grant, right?
Yep, great. Grant.
Grant, thank you.
Roderick. R-O-D-R-I-C-K.
Okay, well, we'll find that answer for you, okay? They're looking for it, and then I'll get back. All right? Next.
Larry Stewart, Sauk Village. First, I want to apologize to Mr. DeLuca for having to come into this. He's been a long friend to Sauk Village. But what he didn't know was his friend was not on the up and up. No,
All right. Hey.
I'll back it up too. Tell your idiot to shut up. Okay, now let me finish. How you doing? Okay, as I was saying, this started, from what I gathered, you all were talking with the checking of houses, the empty houses. You know, this basically just started in the last 6 months, I'll give it. You know, to where we've got about 300 houses empty. Are we billing empty houses for garbage that's not there? You know, because this is what it seems to have been. And if that's the case, somebody's pulling up to a house and saying there's garbage here and there's no one live there. But we're going to bill it, charge the public to where they're billing us. Now we're going to bill them back. This is what I'm seeing. You know, it's like a three-card model. What is going on here? If we would let Republic, and I wish Mr. DeLuca would remember when I had to go pay my bill at Skyline. I'd go over there, pay my bill. Because you can't pay it here in Sauk Village because they don't know where the money is. The money, you pay it in City Hall and it's gone. I'm listening to you all talk about people, we don't have money to pay the $200,000. He should get paid. That's first and foremost. But we don't want to do that. We want to negotiate. We want to sleight of hand. You know, pay the man. That'd be fair. And Republic, take charge of your money, because Sauk Village, as it stands, is hiding. Thank you.
Good evening. I just did some math right here. $39.28 a month over 10 years, your bill will be $53.37. That's a 73% increase over 10 years.
to thank Mr. DeLuca for being here tonight. I remember working with his dad. Skyline is a household name in Sauk Village. But again, it's a business. And it should be treated like a business. And Mr. Haynes, I put full responsibility on your shoulders. You have sat here tonight and talked about the months of working with Republic to try to get things under control. So you've had months to work with the trustees, and most of all, to work with the people. But we have to find out the night before a board meeting, or the night of the board meeting, and every time you've tried to push something through as fast as you're doing tonight, it has stabbed the residents in the back. I don't understand why none of this could have been brought up before. You knew about this before you hired those 13 people. And now you want to talk about why you shouldn't get rid of the 13 people, how great they're doing. I'm sure they are. But had we known about this prior to, and you made us alert and you were transparent, we could have voiced our concerns. And it's totally unfair. I've lived in this village since 1965, and I have never, ever, even the last administration was not as blinded as this administration. You're keeping everything you want, everything you think about in your own safe little niche, and the hell with the residents. And it's about time that changes. We need to know. You're taking our money. I pay my water bill on time, which means my garbage bill gets paid on time. And now you want me to pay more. Well, I'd like to know what the hell for. I don't have any more garbage or any less garbage than before. I use less water now because my washer went on the blink. But I'm still getting that same high price. So you're not doing anything for me. And now you want to make me pay more. And oh, don't forget, the school's going to raise taxes some more too. And you're going to levy another tax probably. So, you know, just a penny a day here, 9 cents a day there, 50 cents a day there, and you should shut up. It doesn't work that way. And it's not going to work that way. And we're not going to shut up.
I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion, is there a second? Yeah, motion second, for sure. All in favor, say aye. Meeting adjourned.
Can all trustees please say aye when the mayor asks for ayes, because I only heard like 2 words. Yeah, I said that. Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, we're already almost an hour into the other meeting, so you might sit there if you want to. We're going to our next meeting.